Hello,
Okay.
everyone, and welcome to Intimacy with the World podcast. I am Dorita Hall, your host on this show, where we explore what it really means to be human and what really matters to be able to live a meaningful life. And today I am so honored because I am speaking with Krishna Das, who is with me from New York today. And in case somebody listening isn't familiar with Krishna Das, he is an American spiritual teacher and a widely recognized musician and vocalist, known for his performances of Hindu devotional music known as kirtan. He has released 17 albums since 1996, and he performed at the 2013 Grammy Awards, where his album Live Ananda or Live Ananda, I imagine it's Live Ananda, right?
No, Live Ananda.
Live Ananda was nominated for a Grammy Award. He has also written 2 books, The Flow of Grace and Chants of a Lifetime, which I am halfway through and find immensely inspiring. So welcome to Intimacy with the World podcast, Krishna Das.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so very nice. Let me just say one thing. I don't consider myself a Hindu, even though most of the chanting I do comes from India. I also do a lot of Tibetan chanting also, but I don't really belong to any group, you know. There was a great comedian in America called Groucho Marx, who used to say he wouldn't join any group that actually invited him. So I feel the same way, you know. Anything you can define or conceptualize in your mind will never be enough. So I don't try. I just don't identify with those things. I'm just trying to be a good human being is really the thing.
Yeah, I gathered that about you from following you for some years now. That's exactly what I like so much about you. You never tell anyone what to do, and you're always so.
That's not true. I tell a lot of people to go away. You know.
Yeah, and you know what really resonates with me is your wildness. Actually, you're very undomesticated, even if you're from New York, or maybe that's why.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, and I really like that this free spirited that you don't claim to have all the answers, that you're just following what seems to be true to you, right?
Pretty much, yeah. That's what I try to do.
Yeah. So because many people that probably are here with us don't know, many will know you, but many will not. So can you tell us what happened in 1970 when you went to India for the first time? Just briefly, and then I'll get into asking you more questions that I want to know.
Yeah. Actually, I would say we had to start a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
In the winter of 1968.
Yeah.
I met Ram Dass for the first time.
Mm.
And he had just returned from being in India, where he met this guy behind me over here, Neem Karoli Baba. Wait, there he is.
Yeah.
And
he's a guru from India.
A guru.
Yeah. We're scaring everyone now.
Good. Let him be scared.
Yes.
And so I had been meditating and doing hatha yoga and reading holy books and stuff like that, but there weren't a lot of things available at that time. But somehow or other, I heard about Ram Dass and I went to see him. And the minute I walked into the room where he was sitting, without a word being spoken, without eye contact or anything, he was just sitting in the corner up against the wall with his eyes closed. The minute I walked into that room, I knew beyond a doubt that whatever it was I was looking for was real, it was in the world, and it could be found. And this was a life-changing experience. It was like the lights went on, really went on for the first time.
Yeah.
In a completely new and different way. So I became very close with Ram Dass, and we traveled around a year and a half or so in the States. And then I said, listen, you know, and at first I felt, as at first being with him, I thought it was all coming from him, that it was him.
Yeah.
But he clarified that very clearly and said, no, this is Maharaja you're feeling, the guru in India, and he's just transmitting through me. And so I knew I had to go see the old man. So after a year and a half, I went to be with him in India.
Yeah.
And funny experience, that the first time we actually got into the room where he was sitting, it was very confusing because I had been feeling him everywhere for the last year and a half since that first moment. He was huge. He was everywhere, right? And then I walked into this room and there was this little guy wrapped up in a blanket. And it was like, wait a minute, how does this all fit in there? It's like, wait, how does this work? But it works.
It works, yeah, yeah. Because you were you were, I think one can say, a tortured soul, right?
What time is it? But it's 4:12. I was tortured until 4:11 and 59 seconds. Yeah, you could say that. I mean, really, compared to what a lot of people go through in life, it wasn't that bad. But I did suffer a lot emotionally from a lot of different stuff,
Mm.
And it's not all gone by any means. Those programs do keep running, but you kind of develop a different way of being with them so that they don't keep pushing you around the same way. And then gradually, when the energy is kind of removed from those programs, they kind of just float away.
Yeah. I
So,
thought it was
yeah.
very interesting to read in your book that so Maharaji, he's a bit like you. He was quite rude too, he would
I'm not rude.
No, you're not rude.
He could be.
But
He could be very. He used to say, "Go away" is my mantra.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you explain in the book that you when you were in his presence, you just felt love, right? You just felt
Absolutely.
that the whole world and that you and everything was love. And as soon as you were out of his presence, or I don't know if it's as soon as, but pretty soon after being out of his presence, then that light disappeared, right?
Yes and no. Being with him was very special because just in your own mind, just think of how it would feel if everything you've ever dreamed of was really true, everything you've ever wanted, everything you've ever imagined, everything you've fantasy about how it would feel if you were with that, in one way. And that's how it was, that way. So for those first 2.5 years that I was with him in India, and it wasn't all the time, he would disappear sometimes, for months. But during that time, there was not arrogance, but we took for granted. We took for granted the feeling, the connection. We took the connection for granted. At least I did. Maybe some others didn't, And when he sent me back to America and then left his body, that was it for me. I was destroyed because I had become so attached to being with him physically that I couldn't imagine what it would be like when he wasn't available that way.
Yeah.
So that was big time.
Yeah. So you had to kind of find a way to find that light, that love, without his presence, without his bodily presence.
Well, that first I had to find a way not to kill myself for 20 years.
Yes, that's a
Yeah,
long time, 20
that came
years.
first. Well,
You,
I'm stubborn.
you're slow. No, you're slow.
I'm
Slow
slow and
learner.
stubborn. Very slow learner. Yeah, yeah. A hard case. But after well, 11 years after he left the body, I was back in India again. I've been many times, and I had a very powerful experience that was like getting born. It was like it was okay to be alive. That was the basic, and that I could live, and maybe someday I could actually be happy. But it was okay to be alive for the first time in 11 years, right after he died. And then 11 years after that, I had another experience where uh, it was truly being born again in a completely different way.
Also in India.
Yes, also in India, in the temple at Kenchi, where I used to
Yes.
spend most of the time with him there.
Yeah.
And that's what really saved my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so people ask me all the time, how do I do this? How do I do that? I said, I don't know, because I didn't do it for myself. The way I see it, he saved me. He and Siddhima, who was his great disciple, they
But
saved me.
yeah, I get that. But don't you think that it also took something from you, some kind of surrender or some kind of, or what?
Surrender happens by grace.
Yes.
You don't do surrender because that's an egoistic idea, concept. The ego will never
Surrender.
surrender. Ramana Maharshi said, asking the ego or the mind to destroy the mind is like asking the thief to be the policeman.
Yes.
There'll be a lot of investigation, but no arrest will ever be made.
Yeah, I
So,
know. But you know how intention is also a very strong tool. Like intention is planting a seed. So if you at least begin with the intention, I would like to surrender. Don't you think that helps?
no.
But
Then
then
you get so proud about being somebody who wants to surrender.
yeah. So how do you see intention then? Does intention not play a role?
I don't think about intention. I think about the way I think about it. You're asking me how I see myself. So I see the longing to be free of suffering, the longing to live in that loving presence all the time. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I don't see it as my intention to do that. I just see as the longing is inescapable.
Yeah.
And it colors everything in your life. Everything it ruins your life, basically, because nothing will ever be enough. And in truth, nothing is enough out
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
And that longing is actually the way we human beings experience being pulled into our own true nature.
Yeah.
Whatever we call it.
Yeah.
And then you do what you have to do to try to honor that longing, because that's the only, what else do you want to do? This is your longing. This is what you want. So ultimately you get with the program and you start doing what's necessary to move more easily in that direction.
Yeah. And even if what the kind of longing you're describing, as you're saying, is quite painful because you're never gonna have enough because you're always longing. But really there is no human life really that's not full of longing of one kind or another. It's like there's never enough in most.
That's true. And it's only it's a combination of what you could say grace, which I know Buddhists love that word, and grace and good karmas, that you even recognize that even though you recognize that there's no real satisfaction in stuff, including all stuff, from relationships to cars to jobs to anything, It's only the good karmas that you yourself have created in a combination with causes and conditions, and the way I see it as grace, that you even know it might be possible to find something despite the fact that you recognize that out there's nothing. So that's even being on the path, even being attracted to the Dharma, and it's a fruit of previous causes. It's an effect of previous causes.
Yeah.
And uh, I find that I think it's easier just to do your stuff, do your practice, and try to become a good human being,
Yeah.
and not worry about intentions and techniques and rules and regulations, because Westerners are so ensconced in their sense of a separate self that everything you do becomes something that just shines up that separateness. It's very hard to get free of that.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Yeah, but then again, for example, I know that you emphasize practice. You know that
Yeah.
that if we have this longing, that if we have this intuition that there is something more, I could be much more fulfilled in a way that things and stuff
Mm-hmm.
can't fulfill me. The only way to get there, you say, or the only way to walk towards that path is practice. And practice takes some, I don't know, discipline or intention or something.
You could, looking at it from an egoistic point of view, you can say that.
Do you
It
not?
takes intention. No, you definitely have to do something, but you don't have to do it with the heaviness of sense of doing. I mean, this is subtle stuff, right? This is not nursery school. This is kindergarten stuff. We don't have to do it with that heaviness of like, I'm doing my practice, because it's just ultimately but ultimately the practice will take care of that, will cure you of that disease, of that delusion. But you're adding on to it already. Just so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's that surrender that can happen while you're practicing that you're not doing, but it just happens. And
you don't pat yourself on the back about it.
no.
When a kid is playing,
Yeah.
there's nobody, he's not saying, wow, I'm really playing now. I'm totally into this. Isn't it great? It's not like that. When you're into something, that meta story, the story might be gone. The presence is there. The experience of the moment is deep, but there's nobody patting you on the back about that.
Yeah.
And we're so needy of being patted on the head and told we're good little boys and girls that we'll use anything we can to get that feeling,
Yeah.
and that's a big obstacle in terms of just living and just being.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's a big obstacle to practice too.
Yeah.
Because you're always judging, evaluating, this was today's shit. I can't meditate. I can't concentrate. This is bullshit. And you sit there for an hour or whatever, and you just piss and moan all the time. Because that's what's natural to us in this Western culture, especially.
Yeah, and then we're so proud when we think we've had a good meditation and we think we did it, and we pat
Yeah,
ourselves.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like Sharon says, the most important moment of practice is when you sit down to do it.
Yeah.
Everything after that is secondary.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge moment. You've overcome the what they call the vasanas of the mind, which are constantly going in this crazy outward direction. You're actually, you're overcoming that and recognizing the need to sit down.
Yeah. So I can't help my curiosity. So the first 11 years you went back to India and you had an experience there, and then another 11 years passed and you went back, and that's when you really I
Yeah.
gather,
I've
found.
been there many times
Yes,
in between
I
all
know
those.
that you
Yeah.
go there almost every year, but these were experiences that were important to you. So
Life changing.
after the second 11 years, have you now then learned to be happy?
I'm fighting it, but you know, every once in a while it pops up.
only once in a while.
I don't think about myself that much anymore. That's happiness.
Yeah.
You know, it's not always about me all day long. It's not about how do I feel now? How do I feel now? How do I feel now? How do I feel now?
Yeah.
You know, I don't, like minutes might go by when I don't actually think about myself.
And
Or
what
seconds.
happens? What happens then?
Who knows? I don't know. Just being.
Yeah.
But the reason I always talk about practice is because, you know, Maharaji, he was really funny, but he was, one time he looked at the Westerners, the group sitting with him, and he said, I've done everything. I just leave the mind to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, the first reaction is, yeah, thanks, you know.
Yeah.
But then you think, what does he mean he's done everything? And all we have to do now is calm our minds, is slow down. And everything, you know, he uh, lives in another, on a completely different level of being, you know.
Yeah.
He's present in the past, the future, and this moment equally. There's no time for him.
Yeah.
And in fact, Hanuman, the monkey god, is called Trikalavesham, the one who lives in the three times, past, present, and future. And Maharaj is, that's how it is for him. So when he says he's done everything and he just leaves the mind to us, it's very clear in instruction. And he didn't then say, so do it. He didn't say that. He just said, this is the way it is now, you know.
Yeah.
He also used to say, you know, the main practice I do is called the repetition of the sacred names, the divine names, the names of so-called God. Yeah. But in India, you know, everything from it's different. They don't chop things up and you know, there's only one God. Everybody knows that, but that God can be approached and entered into through any different practice and many different names. But Maharaj used to say, through the repetition of the name, on the repetition, everything is accomplished.
Yeah.
Everything is made full and complete. So, an interesting thing, you know, Siddhima was his great devotee. She just left the body a 3 years ago.
Yeah.
She was extraordinary. And I asked her once, I said, Ma, you know, should I meditate or should I sing? What's the deal? And she looked at me, she said, well, what do you like to do? Now, my physical mother never told me that.
No mothers say that.
No one is telling you to do what you like, you know. I said, well, you know, I like to sing. She said, Krishna, in 40 years with Maharaji, not once did he ask me to meditate.
Mm.
But he asked me to serve others and to remember God, do the bhajan, remember the name, repeat the name. And he said to her that the more subtle states of consciousness cannot be precipitated by the use of your personal will, your egoistic will.
Yeah.
But through purification and purity of heart and serving others and repeating the name, you make yourself, you ripen yourself, you make yourself available to those states, and they'll rise on their own. So that's pretty interesting.
But then again, when we sit down to meditate, I'm talking about myself, when I sit down to meditate, it's like, as Sharon Salzberg says, you have sat down and you have said, I'm going to sit. And so the mind, if one is graced, starts to quiet down. And sometimes you do feel like you're in the presence of God, whereas it
Hmm.
doesn't happen as much when I'm cooking or driving my car or doing stuff. It happens in nature also, I find,
Hmm.
because then I'm not doing things. But most we
Exactly.
go
Yeah.
through our days doing and doing and doing and very little being, no? So we kind of
Hmm.
have to find those spaces to be. And often that is by sitting down to meditate here in the West, because we don't have enough mind space to enter that space without saying, maybe now.
Well, we're very busy.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But on the other hand, unless we, unless we add a practice of some kind to our lives, we just don't notice how gone we are.
Yeah.
So just noticing you're gone is already being here. It's not something you do. For instance, you'll be sitting doing your practice, and then you realize, oh shit, I've been thinking about what I'm going to cook tonight, right? So you tell me, you were gone thinking about that. How did you recognize that you were gone?
Mm.
You didn't do that with your effort. You were gone. And when you're gone, you're gone. But then you were back and you recognize you've been gone. So that happened not by your own personal will, your personal effort. That happened as a result of your own previous karmas, because that moment could not arise without seeds having been planted of awakening in your own mind stream over infinite lifetimes. So at that moment, you can go back to thinking about, you make a choice. Well, I can go back, I have to figure out what I'm cooking, or you come back to your practice,
Mm.
to your object of awareness or concentration. Every time you come back like that, that neural pathway in the brain is deepened. They proved that, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the next time you're lost and in dreamland and asleep, you'll wake up maybe a millisecond sooner. So it's just a question of continual practice over time, which familiarizes us with being here, because we're already here. We're just not paying attention.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
And even trying to pay attention is not so easy, because we don't even know what it means. We're so outer directed.
Yeah.
So that's why the repetition of the name is such a great practice, because there's music involved in some ways. And people like to sing, and there might be a group of people chanting.
Mm.
So we're all reminding ourselves. I mean, there's also a million ways to get lost in that too. But it's also one of the reasons it's so such a powerful transmission is we're not thinking that it's that we're doing spiritual work.
Yeah. We're just singing, right?
We're just having a good time
Yeah.
and enjoying.
Yeah.
And that type of enjoyment is not um, it's not from the senses coming into contact with a pleasurable object, nor is it for the senses breaking the contact with an unpleasant object. It's a natural kind of joy,
Yeah.
and that's very powerful.
Yeah. It's quite
So
interesting that,
powerful, in fact, that people don't even recognize what's going on, which is fine.
yeah.
Why do you need to recognize? You have to put a badge on. Yeah, I just had a nice kirtan. Who cares? You know?
So you almost sound quite sort of anti-conceptual, and we were speaking about Joseph Goldstein before. And he's very conceptual. I mean, he's very deep practice. I don't want to say that, but
Yeah.
he explains everything in detail, how things work, how the mind works, and how you
Mm-hmm.
can think about things to enhance your practice.
Sure.
And I know you're very good friends and you respect him a lot.
Terribly. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're exactly opposite, it seems to me.
It's just a different approach,
Yeah.
why am I getting messages that I canceled everything here? Um,
So one,
Sometimes different people, different things work for different people, and
yes,
different practices work for the same person at different times. My all the times I've engaged in Buddhist practices and meditation practices been so wonderful for me and so helpful, uh, helping me to understand a little bit about what's going on inside me.
yeah. So
But
it is helpful also to have like
oh, sure,
intellectual knowledge about different paths and different methods, and but then you have to surrender, or whatever word you
you
want
have
to
to let
use.
go of that
You have to let
ultimately
go of that
during
all. Yeah.
practice. Believe me, when Joseph is meditating, he's not thinking about anything.
No, I know he's not.
So the conceptual part of it is creating a context for your life,
Yeah.
not just your practice, but your life as well. And that's that's wonderful. You know, it's a great thing.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful to a lot of people because, look, what I do is a little bit esoteric. Let's face it. You know, people, you know, there are people who just will never do it because it's just too out there. You know, it's just too weird. You know, what is this chanting? What is that? You know, come on. So for people like that, there are other ways, of course. You know, this is just India is my home. You know, when I got there, I finally felt at home somewhere, whereas I never felt at home anywhere before that.
Mhm.
But not everybody's going to have that same experience. So this is what's natural to me, and I just share it with people. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for example, when you speak about Maharaji, and when you speak about your own practice, when you get to that place by grace, it's love. You call it love. So, how about love in romantic love, or the love that what we normally call love? How do you see that after so many years?
You know, I was once very much,
Enlighten me, please.
yeah, I know, I was very much in love with someone at one time, this one person. And I was telling my Indian father all about it. He was a great yogi, been with Maharaji for 40 years. He was an incredible being, you know. And he was the head of a school, headmaster of a school. He was totally in the world, but beyond the beyond.
Yeah.
So he listened very patiently as I'm going on about this woman, how I love her. Oh, it's, and then when I finally finished, he looked at me and said, "My boy," he said, relationships are business. You know, do your business, enjoy. Do your business, enjoy.
Yeah.
But he said, but love? He said, love is what lasts 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Mhm.
So he said, do your business, enjoy. He didn't say, don't do your business. Enjoy your business. Enjoy the interrelational, interpersonal givings and takings and all the things that happen. He said, but love, you know, is not something you fall in or fall out of. It's who you are.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. That's what my understanding is when we're talking about real love.
Yeah. So
You
you
don't
don't
get it from
think,
somebody.
no,
Everybody
no,
has it already.
yeah. And do you think that in a relationship it can be enhanced? That I mean, it's something that can't be enhanced because it just is. I get that, but I mean, us feeling it. Do you not long for that kind of love?
You mean romantic love?
Yeah.
I long for romantic love just as much as I long for depression and suicidal thoughts. That's the other side of that. You don't get romantic love you don't get the light without the shadow.
Really?
It just really, well, this kind of light, you don't know. When you fall in love with somebody, are you really seeing who that person is, or are you seeing your own projections in the first place? Answer
Probably
that.
the latter.
Yeah, well, it's usually some mixture of their projections and your projections. And then a relationship can be full of wonderful feelings, friendship and kindness and compassion and caring. But we're not saying that that's not beautiful and important. I'm just saying that anything that's dependent on something outside of you, any feeling, we're talking, these are emotions. Real love is not an emotion.
Yeah.
Real love is the space that holds the whole universe. It's not limited to any one place or one person. Real love is your Buddha nature.
Mm.
In India they call it Sat Chit Ananda. Truth, reality, consciousness or awareness, and fucking bliss. That's your nature. So you don't get that from another person.
I'm not
Even
so
the
much
great,
speaking about getting it from another person, but I'm more speaking about what can arise between two people.
yeah, keep speaking.
So
we know it arises with one sex. Look, whatever. I'm not here to convince you.
No. But you're kind of
But
saying
if you
that,
keep looking, if you look, what we're talking about is presence, okay? Love maybe is it's a confusing word for Westerners.
yeah, I
We're
understand.
talking about presence, we're talking about being, we're talking about awareness, we're talking about what's looking out of your eyes right now.
Yeah.
Not what your eyes are seeing.
Yes.
So that's the difference.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And we're in relationship to everything all the time.
Mm.
Why are expectations programmed that if we could find that one person, we'll never be unhappy again? We'll never need anything again. When we eat a meal, we don't eat it with the idea that we'll never have to eat again.
Yeah.
This bowl of pasta is going to satisfy my hunger for the rest of my life, for millions of lives. We don't think that way.
Mm.
But when we get into the romantic program that we've been brainwashed with, we expect ultimate happiness from this. And there's always going to be disappointment.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I agree. Amen.
I wish I agreed. I'd be a lot happier.
Yeah. So I know that you, I don't know if I heard it in some conversation on the internet or in your book, that you did consider whether you should become a monk at some stage.
I wouldn't say it that way. But two things. On one hand, I was extremely neurotic and very unable to be at ease in a relationship. And I had never had a good working relationship before I went to India. And when I got to India, there was very little opportunity at first for that kind of thing. And besides, we were with Maharaji, and when you're like sunbathing, why are you going to go to a tanning salon?
Yes.
You got the whole universe right here. Why are you going to go? Where are you going to go? Why would you leave that for anything? And what would happen is some of the people in the group, they'd start like getting together, and Maharaji would look at them and say, "Oh, they're friends. You're friends. Isn't that nice? They're friends. So good." And a couple of days later, you go like, "Oh, you're good friends. They're really good friends now. Isn't that nice? Whoa, yeah." And a couple of days later, you say, "Oh, you're married. Now go back to America. See your parents. Ciao." So that is what I was completely dedicated to not leaving his presence, not being sent away. And so I buried all my stuff as quickly as it popped its head up. I hit it with a shovel and threw dirt over it again. And
So,
as a result, after 2.5 years, I was like a robot. I was, I was like so tight. There was so much blocked energy and so much uncooked seeds, so to speak.
yeah.
So one day he looked at me and he says, "Okay, you go back to America. You have attachment there."
Yeah.
Baba, I'm just learning Hindi. Too bad, you go.
Yeah. So he could see all that you were repressing.
Absolutely, he could see everything. There
Yeah, I
was no
know he could
question
see
about that.
everything. Yeah.
But he kept me. The other thing you understand is, he himself kept me in India. I was ready to go. It's a long story, but I was ready to go this one place to try to get my visa extended. And if I had gone there, I would have been sent home, just like Ram Dass and all my 90% of the other Westerners got sent home. But I couldn't go there because I had applied for my extension in a different place before they got there.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to that place. So they all left, and I came to the house of this devotee. We were staying in Allahabad, near Dadas, and I brought all my stuff, and I was going to get the night train to leave to get to that visa office in Gaya, it was called, near Bodh Gaya. And so I told Dada, I said, Dada, I'm going to take the night train to go get my visa, but I'm not leaving without darshan. Unless I can see Maharaji, I'm not going. And it was nighttime, so we didn't usually see him at night. So Dada said, okay. He came back out about a half an hour later, and he said, Maharaji says, don't go. Tomorrow he'll send you to his devotee in this other town, who's the chief of police, who will stamp your passport. And so he kept me another year there.
Yeah.
Whereas, so he knew I wasn't going to make it. He knew I had to stay, and just.
He knew you were a bad case.
He knows what a hard case I am. It's not like in the past.
Here's my most difficult case. I need to work on him a bit more.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I was his most difficult, but he used to hang out with, he was so, there was, in those days in India, before cell phones and all this new technology, there were many places in the jungle that were, people didn't even know about. And Maharaji had this one devotee who was had a big gang, and they had their own village in the jungle. And they used to go out from there and rob people and stuff like that. But this guy was beautiful singer, and he would sing from the Ramayana, the story of Ram, and sing so beautifully. Maharaji would always go visit him in the jungle, and they would say, Baba, tell us where we can go to, to find to steal something good, and stuff like that. And he would. And then this guy got arrested, and he got put in jail. And he was in what they call central jail in Agra. And another devotee of Maharaji was the head of the jail, right? So one day Maharaji goes to the jail. He used to go there. He actually had a cell that was kept empty for him whenever he wanted to hide from people, who just go into the cell and stay there for any length of time. So he goes to the jail, and he goes to the cell of this criminal. And he said, I know you're planning to escape. Don't do it. If you escape, my other devotee, so-and-so, will lose his job, and who's going to take care of his family?
Yeah.
So the guy did not try to escape.
Yeah.
And some months later, he was acquitted completely and became a free man.
Yeah. I'm sure he was a kind of a Robin Hood criminal. Can we say that, please?
We can say that. Yeah, I think he was like that. Yeah, definitely. He used to rob from the rich and
give to his village.
Give to the poor and feed people. He used to have big bandaras and feed lots of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
in India, food is like money here.
Yeah.
People don't know where their next meal is coming from.
Yeah.
They don't have a refrigerator. First of all, they don't have electricity. Second of all, they don't have a refrigerator full of food and supplies for the next, they don't. So many people in India, hundreds of millions of people don't know where their food is coming from.
Yeah.
It's a different world,
So,
even then.
so I
And
know that,
now it's
yeah.
worse.
So I know that Maharaj always said, feed people, serve.
And he did.
And yeah, and he did. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he sent you back to America, do you think he then already knew that he was, of course he knew, that he was going to leave his body and that you weren't going to see him again?
It's not for me to say what he knew, what he didn't
No.
know.
Mm.
On one hand, he knew everything.
Yeah.
And everything he did was part of the script that was written to save you and to free you. So, and he was perfect in his acting ability, not only for you, but for every single person that he was involved with, physically or not physically. It's inconceivable, the kind of what bodhisattva action actually really is.
Mm-hmm.
So he sent me back and he told me to come back when I had a year visa and some money, because I had no money for 2 years, So my idea was to come back to America and, to put it bluntly, get as fucked up as I possibly could, and then drag my miserable ass back to him to straighten me out.
Did you really think
So I
that, to
did.
get as fucked up as I possibly could?
Oh yeah, sure. I had been celibate for 2.5 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And from the ages of 23 to 26,
Yeah, it's not a good
prime
age to be
time,
celibate.
prime time, right? I was ready to party.
And you
And
did?
I did. And to some degree, actually, it was hard.
It must
I had been
must be quite a
so
contrast also, to go
terrible.
from
Yeah,
that
but that's
very
me. Yeah,
ascetic life in India with Maharaji eating bananas and apples and not going to parties or drinking or anything, and then coming back.
yeah.
That's quite a contrast.
Yes, it is. Well, that's me. um, where was I? I don't know.
You
So
partied.
yeah, so he told me to get a year visa, and so I got a letter from one of my guru brothers who was there with Maharaji, and it said, uh, Maharaji looked around today and asked where you were.
Uh-huh.
The guy who knows the whole universe asked, where is he? And I told him, Maharaji, you sent him back to America. Oh, what's he doing there? And I told him that you were chanting. He said, oh, write to him. Tell him to come back. I want to hear him sing. I want to hear him sing again. So I got that letter. I was so happy. I can't tell you. I ran around the house like 1,000 times outside. However, I had just gotten together with this woman for the first time. And she was coming to spend some time with me at where I was living. And I was really looking forward to that, to say the least. So I wrote a letter back to Maharaji and I said, when I left, you asked me to get a year visa and put, I think he wanted me to have like $1,000 saved, so I could stay. He said, but I've applied for the visa and I'm waiting for it and I'm working to get the money. But do you want me to come now or do you want me to wait for the visa? You got it? I figured I could probably get laid for a few weeks before I got the
Before
letter
you,
back.
also the letter take a long time in those days.
Takes 2 weeks to get there and 2
Yeah.
weeks back, right?
Yeah.
So I figured I had a month of partying before, I would go back. So I got a letter back saying, Maharaji says to come in December. Great. Okay, party time. This is great. I mean, I can be here. And so, of course, he left the body in September.
Yeah.
Yeah, destroyed. I was completely destroyed. I had betrayed here I am. I love him more than anything. This is all I want to do is be in that brilliant. And the first chance I get, I betray that love.
You mean by not going back immediately when you got the first
Yeah,
letter?
yeah, of course. He knew that I was buying for time, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And so he said, well, come in December.
yeah,
And of course, he died in September.
yeah,
So he knew all that. He gave me a chance
yeah,
to overcome the vasanas of my mind and my emotions, the tendencies that I had.
yeah,
It was I wouldn't say it was a test, but it was an opportunity,
yeah,
which might not have occurred under any other circumstances. And
yeah.
I didn't take it. So I was destroyed. It just completely wasted. And for all those many years after that, it was horrible.
How do you look upon that now? Because I mean, you have this strong beliefs in karmas and in, so how could you have acted any other way, or is that still a regret of yours, or is it now like, well, that's the way it had to happen?
Yeah, no, it's not I mean, of course, there is regret. I would have seen him again,
Yes.
but it no longer destroys me. Uh, uh,
But do you think you could have acted differently?
do I think what?
Do you think you could have acted differently? And
No, I don't think there was any choice in the matter at all.
no, exactly.
Because I am who I am, and
Yeah.
historically I've always done exactly the same thing, pretty much. But you see, at the same time, he had already put into place a program that would ultimately unveil itself as time went on,
Yeah.
which is me chanting with people around the world.
Yeah.
He had started that long before. He put that in place already. So that begs us to say, well, if he had put that in place, and then what was that? That opportunity to go back. Who knows?
Yeah.
One old yogi I was with in the jungle, who was 163 years old at the time, he said to me, if you had gone back, he would have taken you very high. He said, I could do that, but you don't trust me, he said. And he was right.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't trust him, the 165-year-old?
No, not the way it was with Maharaji.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been,
Yeah, maybe you wouldn't have gone back to America and chanted.
I would have died in India, actually, is what would have happened. Or by the time I got back to America, I would have been so sick that it would have taken years and years to get my health back. That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if he had died while I was in India, I would have never come back to America until it was too late.
Why? Why do you say that?
Well, I just know I would have gone off to the mountains somewhere and tried to pretend I was going to meditate and just moped around the mountains until I got too sick.
Yeah.
And then I would have to, it'd be emergency to get back to America.
Yeah.
In India, in those days especially, it was very hard to stay healthy.
Yes. Yeah.
We drank the water everywhere. We ate street food. When we were traveling, and we were always sick, all of us.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
But it was worth every second. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for in a minute. I wouldn't trade any of it.
Yeah. So
But
you see it as your purpose, and also, I mean, he said serve people. That's you serving people, right? When you
he
teach
said,
them, when they chant with you.
love everyone, serve everyone, remember God. Yeah. I don't do a big trip about that
I know.
particular part of it. Because, what's really, who's doing what?
Yeah.
If I'm singing and people have great experiences, dreams of Maharaji, what do I have to do with that? I'm just doing my practice, and my practice includes other people in the chanting part. So if it happens, that's great. There's no possibility I would ever think that I did that. I mean, come on, I can't even piss in the toilet without getting it all over the floor. So
But
can I really do that for somebody else? I
Well,
can't.
maybe that's exactly what you can do for someone else. You can't do the most mundane thing, but maybe you can. But I mean, it has
Well,
given
I
a
know
lot
it
of,
looks like that. Let's say I'm
yeah,
not stupid. I can tell. I sit up there and people look at me and they think I'm doing it. That's their problem. That's their world. That's not mine.
yeah, I know.
And they're entitled to that. I'm not gonna. Why should I mess with that? That's fine.
Yeah,
But that's not the way I see it.
no, but it has given your personal life purpose, has it not?
It's interfered terribly with my ability to watch a lot of television.
That's terrible. What a
But
bad side
now actually
effect.
these days you can record everything digitally, so it's not so bad.
Is it really true that you watch a lot of television? You always say that. Is it true?
It could be.
Come on. I'm not asking if it could be.
You never know.
You never know. So, what's the favorite thing you like to do in your spare time?
I don't have spare time. My favorite thing is to chant with people.
But you can't chant with
And
people all the time.
well, um, probably not. Um, I don't know. I don't know that I have a favorite thing. I like to read the biographies of saints,
Yeah.
and the great lamas, the great rinpoches, the great yogis, the great all
Yeah.
those things. I love reading those because you get a chance to kind of look through their eyes a little bit,
Yeah.
see how they were in the world. Not that you could ever do the things they do for people, but just that you get the sense of where they're coming from, where they're sitting, and from that place responding to the world. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I like music. I like playing.
What
Um,
kind of music do you listen to?
oh, I don't listen much to music anymore. I mean, really, these days I just listen to these a couple of these different lamas chanting.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the Lamas Chant, the CD called
No.
the Lamas Chant?
No.
Check
Okay.
it out.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And he's an incredible Lama. He lives actually in Paris. He's Bhutanese, and his guru was Kalu Rinpoche,
Uh-huh.
who brought him to Paris and left him there in 1974.
So how old
And
is
he's,
this Lama then?
how old? Oh, he's pretty old. I
Yeah.
guess he's in his 70s now.
Yeah.
I met him not too long ago.
Uh-huh.
He had like 5-way bypass surgery recently.
Oh, yeah.
So, but he's good. Lama
Yeah.
Guilherme is his name. He's just so beautiful.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So you talk about cleaning out the dark corners of your own heart. I think that's a phrase from your book. um, do you find that as the years go by, that there are less dark corners?
I find that I spend less time in negative states of mind,
Yeah, that's hopeful
less
for us
time,
to hear.
less time thinking about myself.
Yeah,
How am I now? How am I now? How do I feel now? I don't feel as good as I felt yesterday. What should I do? Maybe today I feel too good. What should I do? I don't. It's not. I, I spend less and less time thinking about myself for sure,
yeah.
which is, I think, probably a good thing.
Yeah, what a relief. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have to ask you before we end.
you don't have to.
I do. For my own sake, I have to. For me, nature means a lot. I live out in the countryside. I grew up in a very small village, 600 people, and
Oh wow.
it's just all ocean. And in the Faroe Islands, you can never not hear the ocean because no island
Mm,
is big enough for you to be in a spot where you can hear the ocean. And
beautiful.
yeah, and then I live in Spain and I sailed, and it's just always nature. And I remember being at a retreat. It was a Tibetan Buddhist retreat, and it was like about guru yoga. And I met the teacher afterwards, and I was like, and there was a tree right there, and I was like, this is my guru. I just said,
Mm,
showing the
yeah.
tree. So I walk my dog twice a day, and just in the mountains, because I'm the last house, and it's just mountains behind me.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. And so that's where I feel really connected. Do you at
Mhm.
all? I mean, you live in New York City, right?
No, I live upstate
Okay.
in
Oh,
the
okay.
suburbs. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the suburbs. It's not real country, but I happen to live in a very quiet place surrounded by trees.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
Yeah.
And
Because of course you have Maharaji and you have your chanting and you have that presence, but does nature mean any? What does it mean to you? Mean to you?
um,
Do
well,
you feel a need to go out and seek nature
no,
at all? No.
I don't, I could stay in my room for the next 30 lifetimes, and
Yeah.
as long as you give me a bowl of rice every day, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I don't have a need like that, but I enjoy very much nature. I love the ocean and I love the mountains, and I love sitting and just looking out over a huge vista. Uh, and parts of India that I've been they're incredibly
Yes.
beautiful too, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But uh, yeah, it's just not. I don't feel a need for it. At the, at, I enjoy it fully, but I don't feel a need for
That's because you're so evolved. You can just sit in your room and be blissful.
it. Yeah, right. About as blissful as a whatever.
But you know how we all have to have strategies. Like if I'm around my house and I'm like feeling a bit heavy and a bit like, you know, depressive or pessimistic or something, it's like, okay, I'll go and get my medicine. I'll just go out and
Yeah.
walk with the
Well,
trees and the
I try
mountains,
to
you
get
know?
my medicine by going in.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What are all those thoughts? They're just thoughts. While you believe them, you believe them. But if you're but the more uh, the more you expose yourself to the Dharma, the less you're automatically glued to those emotions as they pass through. But we are very glued to our programs and our self-evaluating and our self-loathing and our self-judgment and all that stuff. But uh, I, I, for some reason, I don't feel like I need to go anywhere to do anything about it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That I have everything I need to do whatever has to be done right here,
Yeah.
wherever I am, essentially.
But that's because you've come a long way, actually.
That's because I haven't gone anywhere.
But I mean, it wasn't always like that. Come on, admit it.
No, I used to go to India for first aid, until probably until 95. Every time I went to India, I was just dragging myself back to be resuscitated. That's the way it was for many years, for sure. Absolutely. Many years. But then after 95, you'll get to that part in the book soon.
I've heard you speak about it.
Huh?
I've heard you speak about it.
Yeah, after 95, it was all different.
Yeah.
There wasn't a need to go anywhere like that, to be resuscitated like that. Something was completed, you might say.
Yeah. So that homecoming, or that's always with you.
Even when you forget, it's still with you.
Yeah.
That was one of the qualities of that experience that I had. The experience that was given to me.
Yeah.
I was in the, all I experienced, everything I was seeing was peace and silence. Even though people were moving and talking, even I was talking, but it was surrounded by this extraordinary presence of peace and vast silence. It was amazing. And I was just here. And then at one point I kind of looked up into the sky and I laughed. I said, "Oh, wow, that's Krishna Das Ness." And what it was these little this like little like thickening in the atmosphere, right? And it was like whirling, whirling, whirling around and around and around, tiny little thing. And it was thoughts. And I saw that when I think I'm Krishna Das,
Yeah.
I think I'm Krishna Das.
Uh-huh.
And I act like Krishna Das. But it has no effect on this presence.
Yeah.
And in fact, so I understood it was okay to be stupid because it didn't affect this at all. Even when I think I'm Krishna Das, I'm not. But I think I am, but I'm not. It was just wonderful.
And can you still get there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But actually that experience there was like a 9-month half-life. You know what a half-life is, right? It's just
Yeah.
something, it's like a radioactive isotope has a half-life.
Yes.
Every minute it gets thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yeah, until it
So
disappears. Yeah.
so after 9 months, one day I realized, oh, it's a memory.
Yeah.
But for 9 months, it was accessible directly. After that, it was a memory. And only now, 20 years, 25 years later, is sometimes there's awareness of that place of being just as it is, uh, as it is.
Does that happen when you chant, or can it also happen when you're not chanting?
I don't know, because I'm not there when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm here.
You have a very mischievous smile. Yeah, that's beautiful. I hope that can happen to many, many people, that they get to see that experience.
Yeah, it's where we all are all the time, but we're not programmed to be even looking, most of us, yet. So, and it's really only, as Buddha said, it's really only suffering that forces us to deal with that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just asleep, and we don't know there's any tools to use to change the way we go through our day.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing.
But do you find that there are more and more people these days interested in finding their true self?
How would I know?
Well, you've been around that kind of
Yeah,
longing,
but
that kind of searching for so many years. For 50 years. You've seen the trajectory
it's still
in America, for
impossible.
example.
You could say it looks that way, but on the other hand, let's face it, most people, yoga just means physical exercise. Meditation means just something so they could be better bond brokers, have more attention and more concentration power. It doesn't mean that there's necessarily any more spiritual longing. It doesn't not mean that, but I wouldn't know, because there's a reality to things which only the people who know can know. The rest of us just like think things, and interpret things. So, but certainly in these very strange and painful times that we're in, the level of suffering is so high, and people just are flipping out because the power of their own thoughts to just destroy them. They just can't deal with their own stuff.
Yeah.
So that if the karmic situation is ripe enough, a person will look for some way to remedy that situation. But on the other hand, most people don't. All they do is drink more, watch more TV,
eat
bang
more.
the walls and punch the walls more.
Yeah.
They don't really have the understanding that it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
So, but what are you going to do? You just have to do the best you can.
Yes, exactly. I love this like this doubleness in you, like you want to help people, but at the same time it's like, well, what can we do? It's all like that kind of very, very deep surrender that it is what it is, but at the same time we have to do the best we can.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Krishna Das, I don't want to take any more of your time. I am so happy to have been able to speak to you. I hope that I get to meet you in person sometime.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep in touch. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, within some period of time, things will be moving again, but we don't know.
For sure.
You know,
Yeah.
hopefully, but we don't know.
Yeah. If you
So
were ever to come to Spain, I will hold a grudge forever if I don't get notified that you're in Barcelona or Madrid or somewhere.
Well, I don't want you holding a grudge, but please let me suggest that you go to my website.
Yes.
And sign up for an email reminder for your place on the planet. Otherwise, you never know what will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't seem to have a brain anymore. So.
Yeah. Okay, and if I'm in America and you're having a concert somewhere, I will definitely come.
Please reach out anytime.
I will. I will.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I am so pleased. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you.
So I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation with Krishna Das. I know that I certainly did. He's just so wonderful, you know. He's so present and he's so much in his being. And as you probably noticed, I giggled a lot throughout the whole interview. And it just rubs off how relaxed he is, how at home he is with himself, you know. It makes me relax and just be more natural, you know. Yeah, that's probably why he's so beloved as a spiritual teacher and as a musician. He's not a wannabe. He's a real deal, you know, and he's not pretending to be something he's not. So I really hope that you enjoyed this episode of Intimacy with the World podcast. And if you did, please subscribe. It really helps me if you subscribe to my channel. And it does also help other people find these inspiring conversations. And I will, of course, be back next week with a new episode of Intimacy with the World podcast. And if you want to know about some more of my offerings, you can go to my website. It's just my name, www.doritaholm.com. And I offer coaching for personal growth, but also turning intentions into reality. And I also have some mindfulness courses and things like that. I'm offering one that's starting the 2nd of February in 2021 about how to connect with mindfulness, connect to nature, and explore your own inner wildness and power through nature. It's a 6-session course, and you can find all the information on my website. Thank you so much for being with me this evening, or it's evening here where I am, and see you next week. Thank you.